Mike, let's talk NBA Finals.
Let's.
Spurs are in. They've been in for a while. They're waiting.
For a while.
14-day rest or 13 days.
Yeah.
They're getting the heat, and that's what everybody expected was going to be there. But Indiana gave them a run, and it's like almost like shame on you, Indiana. You should have won Game 1 and 2. They let Game 1 get away, and then they don't show up for Game 7. And partially, I think that was Miami's defense. They played some good defense, but I'll tell you what, Miami's got really one player right now. Now, he's a superstar, LeBron, but I'm really wondering where the rest of this team is at right now as well.
Yeah, I would agree with that, and they really made a very, very conscious effort to get Wade and Chris Bosh involved last night, and to an extent they did, and Bosh rebounded the ball a little bit, which has been an issue for him to say the least. But defense and rebounding, I thought their defense was terrific, and you watch that. You watch them play defense the way they did last night, and you wonder a couple of things. Number one, you wonder why more NBA teams don't do that. Some of these teams that are like hopeless lottery teams like Charlotte or something like that have some athletes. Right. Why don't you try to play like Louisville plays in college? Right. You know, just try it. And obviously they're very well suited to that. Not for 48 minutes necessarily, but and the other thing is, Miami's effort and focus seems to wax and wane. It seems to come and go. They seem to need to get smacked in the face. They bounce back from getting beat very, very well. Yeah. And it reminds me, I was thinking about this today, I seem to remember that like the Bill Russell Celtics were a lot like this. But that's going way, way, way back when I was a little kid. So I did a little research. I looked up on Basketball Reference and some of the other sites, and it's true. They had a lot of, in their run in the 60s, they went to Game 7s 8 times, and also went to Game 5 of a best of 5 when they went to a 3-round format in the playoffs one time. And this is with only 2 or 3 rounds in the playoffs, not 4 rounds like there is now. Plus, one year they finished 4th in the East when only 4 teams from the East were making it and won the championship. So I think there is a little bit of a history of this in the NBA, of teams who can do this. Part of it is that in basketball, the better team wins. So if you can turn it on and win, which is less reliable, I think, in other sports. But it's interesting. But and it should be I think it should be a great final.
They're going against a team, the Heat, against the Spurs now, that will not take their foot off your throat like Indiana did. Game 1, Indiana gave it away in their Eastern Conference. That's not going to happen. The Spurs, I think, will be a little bit rusty at the beginning. They've had too many days off here, but they've got the best point guard maybe in the country right now playing for him, and Tony Parker in this country and his own.
Any country, yeah.
And he didn't have a great point guard. Hill is not even really a point guard. He's more of a 2. And the way that San Antonio will spread you out, I mean, their best player is not Tim Duncan anymore, but he's very serviceable down low. The bench, the depth they have, it's going to be interesting to see. And Popovich has had all this time to scout.
That's true.
And
that's
see
true.
What they're doing. How they defend LeBron will be very interesting, because LeBron can get his shot anywhere he wants. Yeah. And just pick your poison with him.
I really think for a person who's really into basketball, I think Miami's defense against San Antonio's offense is really going to be interesting. Yeah. And I think LeBron is going to, at times in the game, not for the whole game or even most of it, but at times, he's going to guard Tony Parker, I think. And it's different because, okay, now if he's guarding Parker, then is he going to be able to be part of that space-eating thing that they do where they cover shooters, and they're going to be running him into sometimes 3-4 screens per possession, the way they play? I just think I'm really looking forward to it from a sort of strategic basketball standpoint.
Matchups, real quick here, I think Parker and LeBron James maybe offset each other. They're both so talented they can offset. Indiana in the last series had the dominant big man with Hibbert and West, and Miami had no answers. Will they have an answer for Splitter and Tim Duncan with the Birdman and so forth? We'll see. Ginobili will be key for me, and so will Dwayne Wade be king. Yeah. King. Yeah. He has to be king again. He used to be dominant out there, and he's lost it. If it's injuries or what, he's a strange
case. He is a really
the same way. When he's healthy, he is really good for the Spurs. So I really think the offset of the Parker and LeBron, they're both going to get their shots. They're both going to score. They're both going to help set up their teammates. But can Ginobili and Wade get their shots and score? What's the down low going to be like? There's some interesting other matchups, and I think that's what the key is going to be. They're both going to play good defense. They're both going to score points, but it's going to have to be the role players.
Really an interesting matchup. And one thing, this might be a very tiny thing, but Shane Battier did not play last night. Did not play coach's decision last night. He's going. Well, they figure he's a problem. He's a small ball guy at this point in his career, so he's going to be a factor again. I think the other guy, Mike Miller and Ray Allen, will be more of a factor in this particular matchup. It's a much different. The Spurs are a better team. But I don't think they caused the matchup problems for Miami that Indiana did. I like Miami. It's a tough call. It's not easy, but I like Miami to win.
I'm going to take the Spurs after what I just saw.
I think a lot of people are going to.